So culture is both visible and invisible. It is just like hardware and software. Hardware is usually visible from outside, and the software is not visible because it is one kind of programming. So the culture that we usually practice has got these two dimensions. One is visible dimension, and the other is invisible dimension. Just think of the visible dimension. For example, you celebrate Pohila Boishak, or the first day of Bengali uh, month of Boishak, the first day that we usually call Pohila Boishak. So on this very day, we usually bring out procession and celebrate the day. We enjoy our traditional food items. We organize fairs or congregations. We gift our traditional gift items to our near ones, dear ones. We exchange greetings with our friends and relatives. So all these activities which are visible from outside may be termed as the hardware of our culture. On this very particular day, that is the Pohila Boishak, we put on a special kind of dress. For example, Punjabi, pajama, that is trousers, and Punjabi. And a special colored dress, especially red and white. And we speak Bangla language, Bangla, because we try to prove that we are Bengalis. Especially on that very day, we try to prove that we are Bengalis. Then we celebrate Halkhata, a ritual, which has been being celebrated since the regime of the emperor, Mughal Emperor Akbar. So these practices are the visible parts of our culture. But there are many, many aspects of our culture which are not visible. And it is just like the iceberg. Only 1/3 of an iceberg is visible from outside. And 2/3 of the iceberg remain out of our sight, remain under the water. It's a very common feature of an iceberg. Only 1/3 is visible and 2/3 remain underwater. So the culture that we usually follow is not wholly visible. The food items that we take, our traditional food items that we take, or the traditional celebrations or rituals that we celebrate, these are the visible parts of our culture. So these can be compared to the visible part of iceberg. But if you think of your belief system, suppose you are a Muslim, you believe in the singularity of God. You say Your prayers, your practice of prayers are visible, but your belief is invisible. You believe that there is God in heaven and he is unique. There is no partner of this God. So your belief is invisible. But your belief is a very, very crucial part or ingredient of your culture. And think of attitude. Your attitude is also a part of culture. What's your attitude? That is, how do you look upon the ladies? Suppose the ladies are now busy in Eid market. If you go to the market or go to a shopping mall, you will find lots of ladies there. Now, what is your attitude towards them? You will look upon them as your sisters. You will look upon the aged women as your mothers. You will look upon young ladies as your sisters. And you may behave with them decently, politely. You may talk to them politely. So this is a kind of attitude, civilized attitude. That is, you respect them. This is your attitude. There is another kind of attitude. If you look upon ladies as only the sex machine, oh, these ladies are raising your sexual desire. If you think like this, that we can't expect, that is a negative attitude towards ladies. If you are gender biased, that kind of attitude may function or work inside your mind. That very attitude is also a part of your culture. Okay? But the negative attitude, we do not want that we should have negative attitude towards our ladies. Our ladies may be our sisters, our mothers, our aunties. So we should have respect for them. Our friends also. So this kind of attitude may bring peace in the society. But if you think that these ladies are the source of sin for you, that is another kind of attitude. That is also a part of your culture. All the cultures are not good. Some cultures are good. Some cultures make you civilized. And some other cultures may transform you into primitives or savages. We do never want to be savages or uncivilized because we claim that we are the super creation on this planet. So our superiority lies in our decent attitudes, decent behavior, politeness, not aggressive attitude, not nasty or dirty attitudes. So anyway, attitude is not usually visible. It's invisible. You possess this very ingredient inside your mind. Then your imagination, how you imagine, that's also very important. Your imagination also constructs your character. Then some rules in the society. Rules cannot be seen. While you practice the rules, you are visible, but the rules are quite invisible. Rules are not objects. Rules are not human beings. Rules do not have any body like human beings. So rules are also invisible. Another important aspect, for example, your behavior, how you behave. Your behavior comes from your inside. If you are a good person, you will behave well. If you are a bad person, you will behave in a very indecent way. So behavior also comes out of your mentality, which is not visible. So thus we find that there are both kinds of objects or ingredients in our culture. Some ingredients are visible and some ingredients are not visible. For example, you are Muslim, you go to the mosque and you say prayer. So your religious practices are visible. You are fasting, you are taking iftar, you are taking sehri. All these practices are visible. So these are the parts of your culture. But you believe that you are a Muslim, good Muslim, so you must not be harmful for anybody. You have to be respectful to your neighbors, whatever his religion may be. He may be Hindu, he may be Christian, he may be Buddhist, but you have to be respectful to them. So this kind of attitude you are possessing inside you, that's also a part of your culture. It's not visible, but it guides you, it controls you, it conducts your life, impacts your life. So it's a part of your culture. What is culture? I think you know the definition. Culture is a kind of practice. You must have heard the name of Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay. He believes that culture means cultivate. When you cultivate a land, it becomes fertile, prepared for growing crops. So when you have culture or you are cultured, it means that you are polished. You are a man of good taste. You can accommodate diversities. You can be tolerant to your neighbors, to your fellows. You can be respectful to the superiors. You can be affectionate to your juniors. So culture makes you a polite person. If you are not polite, if you are not decent, you are not properly cultured. So culture makes a man polite, decent, civilized. If you have culture, you are civilized. If you don't have culture, you are not civilized. We want civilization. We do not want anarchy. We do not want to shed the blood of our brothers. We want to live together with our brothers. That should be our culture. So culture is a kind of practice that civilizes you, that makes you polite, that inspires you behave decently. So the Iceberg model of culture says that only 1/3 of our culture is visible from outside, and 2/3 of our culture remain out of our sight. But it keeps working. It's active. Now, importance of the model. Come to this point. What's the importance of this Iceberg model of culture? The Iceberg model highlights the importance of understanding the hidden culture dimensions of foster better cross-cultural communication, collaboration, and understanding. We are living in the world of hybridized culture. No culture is absolute nowadays. Remember, suppose you claim that you are a good Muslim. In our country, 92% people claim that they are Muslims. Very good, no problem. But if you observe them closely, you will find that they are not practicing the Islamic practices alone. Side by side, they are practicing different other things or different other rituals or different other rules of other religions. For example, In our wedding ceremony, just think of the wedding ceremony of of a girl or of a boy. The Muslims also celebrate Gaye Hulud celebration. Gaye Hulud. Gaye Hulud, this very celebration is not from the Islamic culture. It has come from our Hindu brothers. But you will find that all the Muslims of our country, during the marriage ceremony of their daughters, of their sisters, they arrange this Gaye Hulud celebration. So just think, not only that, they also arrange different other functions. For example, if the bridegroom comes for the first time to the in-laws' house, they construct a gate, they obstruct the new bridegroom to enter into the house unless and until he pays a big amount. The people enjoy it. So this very practice is not an Islamic practice. We find this practice among our Hindu brothers. So just think, we have taken many things from our Hindu neighbors, our Hindu brothers. We have also taken many things from other people of other religions. They may also take many things from our religions. So in this way, culture is getting hybridized at every moment. Culture is never absolute. If you anatomize your culture, you will find the mixture of different ingredients from different cultures. So we are now living in a cross-cultural situation. The situation in which we are now living is not absolute. It is contingent. And the cultures are always crisscrossing each other. And we are in between cultures. Now, levels of culture. Oh, sorry. Just think of this theorist, Mr. T. Hall, Edward T. Hall. Edward T. Hall actually proposes this very model, Iceberg model of culture. He coined this term also, the concept of iceberg culture, in 1976, emphasizing that only about 10% of culture is visible, while a large portion, that is 90% of our culture, is invisible, that is hidden. So this theory of iceberg model of culture has been proposed by Mr. Edward T. Hall. And he offered this very theory in 1976, that is 49 years ago, or 50 years ago. He has also mentioned some levels of culture. Culture has got different levels. The iceberg model can be further categorized into 3 levels: surface level culture, shallow level culture, and deep level or deep culture. So culture has got 3 levels. Remember, culture has got 3 levels. The first is surface culture. The second one is shallow culture. And the third one is deep culture. Now let's define these different kinds of culture. What is surface culture? Surface culture is the culture in which the elements are visible, like language, food, clothing. Surface means exterior. That is, the things which are visible from outside constitute the surface culture. Suppose you are speaking Bengali language. So hearing your language, I can say you are a Bengali speaking person, or you may be a Bengali. So your language helps me identify your location. Or suppose food. Food is also visible from outside. The food that you eat also defines it. If you go to America or if you go to England, nobody takes panta bhat, panta. But you take panta on a special day of the Bengali year, that is on Pohela Boishakh. And you take panta and try to prove that you are a Bengali. So that very special food defines you. Now, clothing. Just think of our Hindu brothers. They put on dhoti. And think of our Muslim brothers. They put on lungi. So lungi goes with the Muslims. Dhoti goes with the Hindus. Though at present our Hindu brothers also put on lungi. But clothing has got a power, a capacity to define you. Just think of the funeral of a Muslim. When a Muslim dies, and we the people attend his funeral, we usually put on white colored dress. So white goes with the funeral ceremony of the Muslims. Okay. So just think how the clothing, how the color of the clothing defines a spatial culture. Now come to the next one, that is shallow culture. What is shallow culture? Shallow culture is constituted by values, attitudes, and beliefs. So what are the values? Values means your sense, your moral sense, your ethical sense. Suppose you have learned from your parents that you have to greet, even if the person is a stranger, you have to greet whomever you meet. That is, you have to give salam to another person whom you meet. He may be your junior, he may be your senior. You should not think of it. You have to greet the man with salam. So this teaching has come from your parents. Your parents have taught it that whenever you meet a stranger or even a familiar person, just give salam to him. So this is an example of values. Suppose your father has taught you never exploit a consumer. Suppose you are a shopkeeper. So your father has taught you honesty. He has advised you not to exploit your consumer. So you maintain that very instruction, that very honesty. That is your values. Or suppose you have promised that you would never tell lies with anybody and you maintain it. This is an example of your values. So, values means your morality, your ethical standard. This is not visible. So, it is called shallow culture. Your belief also. You believe that you are a Muslim. A Hindu believes that he is a Hindu. A Christian believes that he is a Christian. A Buddhist believes that he is a Buddhist. So, in this way, belief decides your identity. The belief can prove you a villain. It can also prove you a virtuous person. So, how does belief prove you as a villain? Suppose you are overconscious of your belief, and that very overconsciousness may make you aggressive to the people of different beliefs. And while you grow aggressive, and your target person is also aggressive, then what will happen? There will be corrosive quarrel. You may be killed. He may also be killed. So aggression or intolerance or overconsciousness about one's own religious belief is dangerous. And that's why even in our Holy Quran, it is said by the Almighty that La ikraha fid din. That is, you must not insist anybody in the name of religion. You can't force a man to do what you do. You can't force him. If you can convince him, then okay, he will do his work being convinced after being convinced. So convincing is very effective strategy to attain a person's respect. So anyway, the surface culture is usually constituted by language, food items, clothing. Shallow culture is constituted by values, attitudes, and belief system. Now come to the deep culture. The deep culture or the cultural elements usually lie inside your unconscious cultural beliefs or norms. So deep culture lies in the deep of your mind, in the deep of your unconscious. Unconscious is not visible. Unconscious is quite invisible, but it works very powerfully. You are the construction of your unconscious. Remember, you are the construction of your unconscious. Your unconscious mind guides you, constructs you, motivates you to work. And that's why unconscious is known as an ingredient of deep culture. So anyway, thus we find that culture works usually in three levels: in surface level, in shallow level, and in deep level. And the Iceberg model says that culture is both visible and invisible. I am just summarizing my lecture up to this. The Iceberg model, which is given by Edward T. Hall, a theorist. This Iceberg model says that culture is both visible and invisible. As the iceberg, which usually floats on the air. And I think you must have heard the story of Titanic. Why did Titanic sink? The Titanic sank because at first it could not locate the iceberg, or it could not see the iceberg. So unfortunately, it knocked the iceberg violently. But the iceberg was huge in size. From outside, it looked small, but the huge part of the iceberg usually remains under the water. And that very hidden part of the iceberg caused damage to the Titanic, and Titanic sank into water. So in this way, T. Hall has mentioned both the visible parts of culture and invisible parts of culture. Culture is just like hardware and software. Hardware is visible, software is not visible. It works invisibly. Your food items, your dress code, your way of constructing your homes, all these things are visible. These are the visible parts of your culture. And these things constitute the surface culture. Now come to the invisible parts of your culture. For example, your belief, your values, your likings and dislikings, your sense of morality. All these things constitute the invisible parts of your culture, and these things lie in shallow culture. And last of all, if you think of the deep culture refers to your unconscious. You may think that you are conscious, but more than 90% what's your daily work you do with the help of your unconscious. And unconscious is just like language. It is structured like language. It contains all your memories. It contains all your plannings. It contains your mindset. It contains your attitudes. It contains your likings and dislikings. So your unconscious is more powerful than conscious. And this unconscious usually lies in your belief, cultural belief and norms. Norms, that is disciplines, rules, traditional rules or regulations, rubrics that control you, that shape you. So in this way, we find that culture works both visibly and invisibly. I think you have got the points. The iceberg model of culture. Now look at this very screen. Just think of this text. The iceberg model of culture. A deep dive means sinking, into workplace dynamics in 2025. This is the title. In 1912, the Titanic met its tragic fate. Titanic, I have already given you the example of Titanic. The huge ship, very huge ship. In 1912, while it was setting sail from England and going to Newport, unfortunately, on its way to Newport, one night it got clashed with an iceberg and sank into the water, into the Atlantic. So this essay, it starts with the analogy of the Titanic. In 1912, the Titanic met its tragic fate, not because of the part of the iceberg that was visible, but because of the massive structure lurking beneath the surface. What seemed like a manageable obstacle turned into an unavoidable disaster because no one accounted for what lay hidden below. We usually identify what is visible from outside. We do not usually see what is lying beyond our sight. But the invisible ingredients are equally powerful, like the visible ingredients of your culture. Your food is important for your survival, for your identity. Your belief is also important for your identity. If your food is contaminated, your stomach will get upset. If your belief is contaminated, your determination, your behavior, your disposition will change. So, invisible ingredients of your culture are equally important. The same principle applies to the workplace culture. What you see, company values on our website, diversity initiatives, or team building activities, is just the tip of the iceberg. So I think this very part will help you all very much. Mr. Saiful will also be benefited if he read these lines very carefully and apply in his workplace. The same principle applies to the workplace culture. Suppose you work in an office. In an office, there are certain practices. When you go to your office or enter into your office, you have to sign in with your fingerprint or with your facial appearance. There is a machine set just at the gate of your office, so you have to put your fingerprint. Then the door opens and you can get inside. So it's a visible part of your workplace culture. Or you go inside your office and meet your boss, you have to exchange greetings with him. You may give him salam, or you can shake hands with him, or you can say to him good morning. You can wish him good morning or very good day, etc., etc. So all these practices belong to the visible parts of your culture. And these are the culture of your workplace. But beneath it lies the unspoken rules, power dynamics, and deep-seated behaviors that truly define an organization's culture. So beyond all these practices, there are some other things that are not visible, but you have to follow. For example, you have to develop the sense of belonging. You will feel that this office belongs to you, and you belong to this office. This company belongs to you, and you belong to this company. So if you can develop this kind of feeling regarding your workplace, then you can work with dedication, 100% dedication and commitment. So this belief, this mentality is not visible, but it is very powerful, very important to make you a good officer. Okay. And if you do not care about these invisible ingredients of your office culture, then what will happen? You will lose your job. As the Titanic ignored the sunken part of the iceberg, it sank. So if you ignore the invisible ingredients of your culture, you will also meet your doom. Okay. Now, ignoring these hidden layers can be just as dangerous as the underestimating an iceberg in open waters. If companies want to build a workplace where the employees thrive, they need to look deeper. That's why the culture iceberg model comes in. Let's break it down. Now, the iceberg model has been split up and different parts are discussed here, and I have already discussed all these parts in detail. Now, why is culture often compared to iceberg? This is a question. And I think you know the answer to this question. The iceberg is not totally visible from outside. Only 1/3 of an iceberg is visible from outside. And the major part, that is 2/3 of this iceberg, remain underwater. Similarly, all the ingredients of culture are not visible from outside. Some are visible, some are invisible. This is why culture is compared with iceberg. So I think you have got the answer to this question. Now, here, visible culture is only the tip. Tip means the visible part, the top of the iceberg, which is visible from outside. The hidden layers of shape, the hidden layer shape and behavior. That is the hidden part of the iceberg is compared with the ingredients of a culture which are not visible. Unspoken norms, values, and leadership expectations exist below the surface. Suppose your boss is a very good leader. And to be a good leader, you should have confidence. You should have the power to decide. You should have the power to take prompt action. You should have the power to make the best use of your time. So these are the qualities which are not visible from outside. These are called hidden layers of your culture. Then cultural misalignment happens below the surface. Misalignment means indiscipline, mismatch. If you fail to match your practice with your existing culture, then you will be in trouble. Employees often struggle with unwritten rules, power dynamics, and unclear expectations. Recognizing what is a cultural iceberg helps leaders address these hidden conflicts. So sometimes there may have been polarization. Or suppose the parties may be divided into two groups. Suppose some officers support the boss and some other officers do not support the boss. So the office is divided into two parts. And if this division goes on and deepens, then the office will fail. So if you are a boss of an office, you have to think of the hidden parts of the culture and at the same time, the visible parts of the culture. If you concentrate only on the visible parts, not on invisible parts, then you may fail as a leader. If you want to be a good leader, you have to put equal emphasis on both hidden and external aspects of your culture. And you must make an alignment between these two. And workplace interactions reflect the cultural iceberg. Non-verbal cues, leadership styles, and informal communication patterns are crucial, yet often overlooked. Real cultural iceberg examples reveal that successful organizations embrace both visible and hidden culture for long-term success. That is, in your office, you may practice both formal and informal behavior. Both these types of behavior are essential. Informal behavior may contribute to the development of intimacy among the workers. And if the workers are intimate with each other, they will align themselves with the interest of the office and they will work together. And if they work together, they will have more production. And if they have more production, they will make more money. So in the workplace, the boss must take care of both visible and invisible disciplines, invisible rules or ingredients of his office environment. So I think you have got the points. I like to stop now. I don't like to continue my lecture today anymore. You have got the major points. I will share these ingredients with you immediately after the class. That will help you prepare yourselves. So now let me listen to you. Yes, if you have any question, please let me know.
Sir, do we have any other class?
Yes, I think I will take one more class the day after tomorrow. The day after tomorrow.
Okay, sir.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Thank you so
Sir,
much.
how can we get our last or previous classes video, sir? Are there any chance to get our previous classes video?
Actually, I can't recollect whether I have recorded it or not. I will just check. If I find it out, I will share it immediately.
Sir, your class is too much perfection for us and it's too much important for us, sir. If you post all of the class in your wall, Facebook wall or YouTube channel, we can share all of the videos, which will be beneficial
sure,
us.
sure. It's my pleasure. Sure, I will share. Suppose today I am recording our today's class and I will share it just after this class.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Saiful Islam.